4 level 4 champion fighters have been assembled to solve a mystery. They are to investigate a murder, solve a missing persons case, and bring in a killer, all within a large town surrounded by dense, hard-to-navigate forests. They are brought together due to their various skill sets and consistently solid combat ability, and no, you did not mishear me, these are champion fighters. So, you might be wondering what exactly constitutes varied skill sets in this scenario. Well, let me tell you. One of them is an Inquisitor, a shrewd investigator with an impeccable memory, an unerring eye for finding hidden dangers, and the ability to replace a roll for an investigation check with a 20 every short rest. Another is a combat medic who can stabilize dying creatures at will, cause people to need an additional death save in order to die, and even bring people back from the recently dead. Another is an Arcanist with a book of ritual spells, encyclopedic knowledge of creatures from beyond the planes, and the ability to detect magic and identify magical items at will. Finally, we have a Survivalist who can cause the group to ignore difficult terrain in certain environments, ignore the effects of harsh weather themselves, and doesn't even fall unconscious while dying, until they fail at least one death saving throw. Now, Ito, you might be thinking, these sound less like champion fighters and more like multi-classed abominations. What's going on? And I'll tell you, they're all using talent trees, and we're gonna talk about them today, with all my homebrew bullshit. So, talent trees, I love these things. Where did they come from? Talent trees is a homebrew that was posted to the Unearthed Arcana subreddit by Reddit user I'm from NASA. The latest version as of writing this video is the 1.0 version, I think. But apparently there's a version 2 in the works, and if you see this video, NASA, please hit me up with the playtest packet. Anyway, talent trees are a spin on the traditional feat system that turned them from standalone feature packages into minor features grouped together by a particular concept, like a skill or a certain set of proficiencies. You can spend 1 talent point to gain proficiency in a talent and progress further down the tree the more talent points you spend, stopping at its capstone. How you get talent points might depend on the variant you use and further on your DM, but you can generally trade an ASI for a talent point at a rate of 1 to 1. It trades the power of each individual feature for having over 100 smaller features that allow for customizability for a character that's hard to get in the base game without multi-classing the hell and back. That customizability is why I love it and why I have included it in every game I've run since they were posted in 2018. As per the example I gave you at the beginning of the video, it can take some of the most bare bones and passive character archetypes in the game and bring them to life with options even if everyone's playing the same class and subclass. They also end up fixing a lot of the problems that people have with the game. Some of the more powerful feats are broken apart and allow for a gradual increase in power as parts are acquired, and depending on what type of talents the DM makes available at one time, it can completely alter how the game itself is run. It's a big meme in the D&D community that D&D players don't want to play other RPGs and would rather graft different systems mechanics onto D&D, which is kind of true. That's basically all I do with my homebrew. But if you as a DM are wanting a more down-to-earth game, a low magic game, or just a game focused on intrigue and social interaction rather than mostly combat, loading up your players with the skill-based talents and letting them be good at different aspects of social interaction, whether that be insight or intimidation, will help them engage with that type of game better than the roll a skill check and see what happens way that comes out of the box with 5th edition. The document will be linked in the description so you can read it yourself, but it has a couple variants depending on the way you want to distribute points. Personally, I like to use the one where everyone gets talent points equal to their proficiency bonus, 2 at level 1, then another at 5, 9, 13, and 17. If someone really wanted to, they could have a capstone at any of the skill-related trees as early as level 4, or immediately if they want to be a variant human, which gets 1 talent point at the start. These have most of the player's handbook feats available in some form or fashion. Another interesting thing though is that a lot of them are broken up into the various skill-based trees. Sentinel is an insight, Keen Mind is an investigation, Alert is in perception. A lot of them are weaker than their player's handbook counterparts. If you use your entire ASI, you're generally getting a feats with the power out of 2 talents, and the fact that talents are generally weaker make it much easier for a DM to give out talent points as rewards for story beats or milestones. Not to mention giving some NPCs some interesting abilities without overloading them. It also accounts for people not wanting to double up on things they already have. The weapon training talent allows someone to gain proficiency in all simple and martial weapons, but if they already have that, they can skip the talent and go further up the tree. Similarly, the armor training talent lets you take the talent as many times as you need and gives you 1 set of armor for each one, from light armor to medium armor and shields to heavy armor, but you can skip the talent and go down the tree if you already have the armor proficiency that you want. Now, I could go through a big breakdown of all the trees and talents and all the cool things they could do, but I'm just going to give a general overview of some of the skills and what you can do with them. Acrobatics. Holy hecking parkour, Batman, we start off strong with Acrobatics. Movement is the name of the game here, and the capstone, free running, does exactly what it says on the tin, to the point where I feel like I have to read it out loud. When you take the dash action, if you are wearing light or no armor, you can run on vertical surfaces along the edges of thin barriers or hop from one outcropping to another as if you are traveling along normal terrain. If you stop moving while running across a wall, you begin to fall. Doesn't that sound amazing? Imagine giving that to your rogue. Arcana. So much magic. This is where your ritual casting, mage slaying, and outsider Google searching is. The capstone lets you activate your Byakugan by letting you make an effect similar to detect magic, and if you concentrate on a specific thing for long enough, identify. Overall, a super useful tree if your party doesn't have a main caster or you want a magical lane without being a main caster. Investigation. A solid tree with the perfect memory of clean mind and the ability to have the time it takes for you to learn things. You can also get really good at researching, temporarily teach yourself skills or tools, or get really good at finding creatures trying to hide for you in combat, while also being able to look at an attacking you and say, you know what, I think I'll give it disadvantage a few times per day. Oh my god, it's Sharingan. The capstone lets you replace an investigation roll with a 20 once per short rest, which is a great I will find whatever the clues the DM has placed here button. Medicine. Medicine is wild. It has a ton of things that make you a good healer and make the healer's kit useful, even allowing you to remove conditions like blindness with it. Then tucked away there are the talents that make you better at harvesting and applying poison. And then you get surgery. You heard that right. The capstone lets you perform surgery on a humanoid or beast that recently died. If it's within 1 minute and the creature has most of their vital organs, you spend treasures of the healer's kit and take an hour of time. If you get this surgery off without it being interrupted, you bring the target back to life. They have 3 levels of exhaustion, but like they're alive. Honestly, this is one of the coolest talents in the entire doc. Some other standouts are it allowing people to learn more tool proficiencies with Jack of Trades, which is important to me personally because of my more in-depth crafting system that the players need tool sets to make use of. The Battle Spells tree, which lets you pick cantrips and choose what your spellcasting modifier is for them, letting you pick up spells like Shillelagh without heavy wisdom investment. If wisdom isn't a stat your character has in spades, you can also make whatever Eldritch Blast and Booming or Green Flame Blade jokes you want here. And finally, the weapon specializations would add some needed depth and complexity to the samey weapons that 5e has. This is where you'll find your Great Weapon Master and Sharpshooter, which are technically weaker here at lower levels, but more consistent and actually end up being stronger late game due to the way they scale. But there are also a lot of other neat things you're able to do with the other weapons that aren't used nearly as much, like the whip. And so you might be thinking at this point, oh, this is all well and good, but it doesn't really account for all the new feats and such added in Xanathar's and Tasha's. Well, that's the thing. If you're interested in using the homebrew system, you can really just add them yourself. That's what I did. You can even do it on a feat by feat basis whenever someone asks about a racial feat to add, or I find a homebrew feat I want to incorporate, because I already incorporated the ones from Xanathar's and Tasha's. Here's what I do. Get rid of any partial ASIs. If it's a single feature, that's it, that's the talent. If it has high numbers, nerf it if you absolutely feel the need to. If it has multiple features, make it a little tree of its own. Preferably no more than 3 talents and divide the features up between them. And I basically converted all the feats introduced from Tasha's into talents this way, as well as a few here and there that I found interesting. So that's it. That's my opinion on talent trees. If you're looking for something to shake up your normal game or possibly planning a single class game and want more diversity other than the subclasses, then be sure to check them out. Figure out how you want to distribute the talent points, figure out if you want to add additional talents, and you're off to the races. If you're wanting to test it out, I suggest trying one-shots with what you consider to be a low amount of talents and then what you consider to be a high amount of talents. Personally, I like to give out a solid amount of free talent points, but the bulk of them come from the skill-based talent section rather than the specialty talents, because it helps the player's character shine in the skills they decided to pick up. In any case, I hope this homebrew works out for you as it does for me, and if it doesn't, then there are more on the way.